Hello, my name is Nils-Odd Tønnevold and I am the president of IC2A. And today it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the IC2A Inspirational Lecture. It is to be given by Christopher Hutchison. Now, Christopher is someone who lost both legs, but despite that has turned around, looked to the future, and through his activity and company that is involved in setting up Prosthetic, he has transformed the lives of amputees all over the world through digital technologies, which we shall hear more about, and I look forward to that very much. And I now call upon Christopher to give your lecture, which we look forward to very much. Thank you so much. Christopher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nils. One second. Perfect. Good day, thank you, Nils. Very nice and very inspiring introduction. I hope I can live up to the expectations. So, thank you for the honor and the responsibility to present this IC2A lecture. Colleagues, friends, thank you for being here today and obviously for working in this field that is dedicated to changing lives for the better. I have to say this ISPO World Congress is a very exciting and, if I can say, a critical moment to help to bring us all together around the topic of digital. As was introduced, my name is Christopher Hutchison, and in line with the Congress theme, my talk today is titled Prosthetics for All, Changing Lives Through Digital Technologies. And that's because I know that together we can achieve it. As Niels introduced, I'm deeply involved in digital transformation of prosthetics as a co-founder and as a CTO of Prosthetic. Prosthetic is a pioneer in digital solutions and providing definitive prosthetic sockets by additive manufacturing, or also called 3D printing. Thanks to our great team, partners, investors, and customers, we've built the solutions and we have used them already to provide definitive sockets and prostheses to hundreds of people spread across almost every continent. It's a start. As you'll see, we've done a lot and there is a lot more to do. So I've been asked to talk about my experience today as an amputee and a passionate entrepreneur in prosthetics, especially as relates to digital. So I'll do this and use it to explore where we are today, and collectively, where we're going and why. So, for context, I became an amputee at 17. I was in an accident in 2009 and I woke up in hospital with a left transtibial amputation, right transfemoral amputation, and blind in my right eye. Right, very lucky to be alive, I have to say, but with a life full of new challenges. So, yes, we all have to deal with all sorts of challenges in life, and these are definitely best handled when we all support each other to overcome these challenges and become stronger, right? And this is part of the reason why family and friends, things like peer support and community are also important. But this also extends to the foundations of what we could call functional support. So after amputation, that includes medical care, rehabilitation, a wheelchair, prosthetics, all the things that give us the tools that we need to overcome and surpass these challenges. And I will show, symbolized here also by the WHO 5P model. So I know that I was very lucky to have access to all of these. And as a result, understand absolutely how critical it is that everyone can have access. I know that we must do everything we can to extend these foundations for all, and it is in this spirit that I address you today. So, I mentioned the 5P model, also to note that we're all standing on the shoulders of giants in this industry. And before I continue, I'd like to specifically take one moment to recognize and thank a few international organizations, of course, IC2A representing amputees all over the world, ISPO and the WHO and GATE team specifically. And everyone involved with them, everyone helping to bring our communities together and to achieve universal prosthetics coverage for all amputees and universal access to assistive technology. Thank you. We got into the prosthetics industry as a family in 2013. That was based in part on my personal experience and with my father, Alan Hutchison. Of course, I must take this opportunity to say what a great honor and real satisfaction it is to work together and learn so much directly from him. And I really appreciate that. So in 2013, we were trying to understand why, after 4 years, my newest sockets were still not comfortable. Clinic I visited had a great team of professionals, but the tools that they had to work with to make sockets seemed to be extremely time consuming and very hard to repeat. So it was also hard to think of even replacing a socket that wasn't comfortable. Now, how could this make sense? We understood that the socket was arguably the most important part of prosthesis. If it was uncomfortable, it's very hard to use the prosthesis, but if it fits right, well, you can use the prosthesis, be mobile, and really have a much higher quality of life. So we realized there had to be a way to do this more consistently and at scale. And this is why we turned to digital and founded Prosthetic. So almost a year later, 2014, now 7 years ago, we worked really hard to develop the first prototype version of our digital solution, and I was fitted with my first 3D printed socket. So here you can see in April 2014, and I have to say it was a surprise even to me. That was by far the most comfortable socket I'd ever worn to that point. And if I can put it like this, a sign that a change was going to come. Oh yes, it will. So the world outside prosthetics has changed a lot in the last 7 years with that, and as the Congress is titled Digital Transformation in an Evolving World, the prosthetics industry has also been changing a lot. Slowly but surely. It has been a little frustrating sometimes, but we're obviously reaching a point now, a tipping point, where digital transformation is just fundamentally changing our industry too. So apart from my talk, you can see topics with all the fellow keynotes and speakers and papers this year. Really amazing new developments across our Congress and our community that just show that we are going to digital with greater and greater momentum. So in the same way that digital has empowered massive changes in our world, we have to harness the same powerful force to empower change in the lives of millions who need prosthetics. So there's a lot to say across this topic. I only have 20 minutes, so I'll try to stick to speaking from my experience. And really for the last 8 years, I've ate, slept, and breathed Prosthetic. So I can just tell you more about Prosthetic and what we've been doing with digital technologies. So by the end of 2015, we developed and launched our software for transtibial sockets called Pandafit. And having fit me in 2014 and lots of thorough testing, we went to clinical investigation in the UK, and then to regulate our sockets in 2016 for 100 kilos, and obviously extended this to transfemoral software and sockets as well. So at this point, I have to say we were working mostly under the radar with many professionals, great professionals and close collaborators and partners to make sure that our digital solution was performing and exceeding the highest expectations. So what that means is digital solution that starts from scanning the limb and inputting data through designing the socket, configuring and aligning the full prosthesis, and ultimately ordering a socket that's a regulated product that is going to be delivered back to the clinical point of care and to be fitted for the patient. So I have to say, if I can say so myself, it was really performing very well, even better than we expected, and very easy to implement, 5 times productivity boost, and with just such great outcomes and results. So in 2017, we thought this is the time, and we started to work more visibly and commercially with great clinics, great professionals around the world, and prove that our digital solution worked with really impressive results and across environments everywhere. So I have to take a moment to say in 2017, this was the first ISPO World Congress I attended in Cape Town. themed assistive technology for all, and we had the great pleasure to watch the IC2A Inspirational Lecture of Joel Julie, who I have to say is a truly impressive person. And as the first ISPO World Congress, I have to say it was really quite an experience and really pleasure just to get to know our great community and also to make friends. So 2018, we're ready to go. We launched Prosthetic Optimal socket family, and that's manufactured with HP's new technology, MJF. Really quite something to see. And these sockets are regulated up to 125 kilos. So I'll show you these in a moment. But by the end of 2019, our customers had fitted around 250 amputees, and with a first-time fit rate without using check sockets of over 90%. 90, that's 90%. So by this point, we also were understanding some of the challenges of our industry and the dynamics and the life challenges for millions of amputees who are unaddressed. So we started to ask the question, how could we help to transform our industry and scale up digital solutions to fit 20 million amputees in the world, help change their lives for the better? So yes, it's a work in progress, and that's part of why we're here today. So how can you do prosthetics for all and change lives through digital technologies? Well, this is what we're working on. So with digital technology, we've industrialized the design and manufacture of prosthetic sockets. These sockets are regulated as medical devices that can be manufactured all over the world and delivered where they're needed. It also opens the door to what we used to call clinic in a box, or now Pandafit, which are just very scalable turnkey clinic solution for creating new capacity and in new locations, right? So this is the equivalent of like high street opticians, but for prosthetic provision. And all of this is as a result of digital. But before we go into digital in a bit more detail and how we can use that to build new capacity in the world, I wanted to also just first touch upon, can it actually lead to better products and a better experience for the user? So in short, yes, and I can tell you that firsthand. So these are Prosthetic Optimal models. These are more basic, but you see with digital, it's very easy to move to like double thickness sockets with rigid and flexible sections, creating inner sockets with all sorts of very interesting properties, and of course working with the connectors. So I have been wearing Prosthetic sockets for the last 7 years, and I have to say they've all been very comfortable. And digital just opens door to working with the comfort of the sockets in a way that was never possible with traditional socket making, right? For example, Prosthetic Adapt. So the user can now adjust the socket volume as a response to volume fluctuations or depending on what they're doing. So this can be honestly quite critical for comfort and quality of life. It's digital technologies that enables this to happen. You can make an adjustable socket, but you need digital to do this at scale. And of course, we're working on all sorts of even more impressive sockets, but I can't show you these today. What I can ask you is, what would you want? So on the left, this was my last above knee socket before we started CrossFit. On the right is the CrossFit Natural that I'm now wearing. So compared to the traditional socket, it took half the visits, it took a third of the calendar days until I walked out with something comfortable, and about a fifth of the professional hours in total, right? So all in, this was about half the cost. And as it's digital, the more scale and volume, the more cost effective it gets. Now, in terms of the final product, it's also a kilo lighter, right? It's more ergonomic. So I can now actually wear trousers that fit me, and it's just more comfortable to walk on. So, well, what does it mean in practice? I'm more comfortable, my gait's improved, I'm walking longer distance, I'm just more mobile. And we're seeing these results basically consistently, as you see in the testimonials at the beginning, and I will show you again near the end. So As you see, digital opens the door to new, better products, experience, and just better outcomes and mobility for users. So let's come back to scale and capacity. So I mentioned earlier, we have a network of manufacturers all over the world. We can ship out sockets, but they can also ship out the full limb. So you can configure the full prosthesis, select, specify the components, do a bench alignment, etc., and order the full prosthesis. It shows up ready to assemble. So that's obviously streamlines provision, stock management, and you can just operate more cost effectively, affordably, and make distributed care accessible to all. So this isn't something you can only do with your existing clinics. It also opens up provision with new channels like digitally enabled clinics, right? For example, Pandafit. So when you use the technologies like this and best practices, you can deliver consistent and high quality outcomes, and really at relatively low cost and low investment. These are really easy to implement, and you can scale them up much more easily compared to using traditional approaches. So what you can see in the bottom right here is also a picture of our office, which is right. You can see the screen behind me. This room itself is actually regulated and operates as a prosthetic clinic. So as you can see, this was a lot, but from digital, we have a digital technology solution leading to sockets, leading to delivery all over the world, and the ability to go and create new clinic capacity. So what does that mean? Well, new prosthetic provision can expand globally. You can reach amputees who are unaddressed and underserved, and you can improve outcomes, further improve outcomes for those who are already served. So that's all coming from digital, again, changing lives through digital technologies. And I have to say, what I've explained to you so far is just CrossFit. Again, this is all in the context of our industry and colleagues here. And I have to say, seeing the set of lectures and talks has been very inspiring in itself. So many solutions addressing all sorts of different problems coming together in a very complementary way that will really help to change lives at scale. So how does this work? How does this map to the challenges prosthetics provision that we're experiencing at a global level? How is Prosthetics for All actually going today? So today at a global level, about 70–75% of people, it's estimated, who need prosthetics do not have access to them. Or conversely, 25–30% of people who need prosthetics do have access. And as we know, this is the most critical element in many ways to being mobile, to being able to live an integrated and fulfilling life in your community. An investment, not a cost, right? For those who do have access, today, estimated 50% of sockets are not considered comfortable. So what does that mean? In the end, 12–15% of amputees actually have a comfortable prosthesis that they can use, right? That's about 1 out of 8. So that's not great, but also not at all bad, really impressive what we've achieved in the world, considering the tools, resources, and infrastructure that we have worked together and had available for us to work with. But the number of amputees is also rising. So according to the WHO, by 2025, there may be 35 million people in need of prosthetics, and that number may double in the next 10 years. We know that that can't be handled with traditional approaches. It's just not possible to scale it up. So another way to look at that, if you consider it like a city, or a megacity is a term for a city of over 10 million people, we could effectively populate one or more megacities like Cairo or Mumbai purely with amputees who do not have access to prosthetics. I ask you really, please consider what that means. In reality, this number is approximately the total population of Cairo and Mumbai added together. And these are not people who are spread all over the world in the other end in difficult to reach places. These are also people in your local community who have been lost to the system for all sorts of reasons. So I ask you, we have two choices to go ahead. We can continue the old way and let all of the problems grow faster than our ability to solve them. Or we must go digital and work towards prosthetics for all. And we know we can do this, right? We're all collectively building on our existing industry, all the talent organizations, frameworks, and everything that has come before and is here today, but now with the tools to achieve our collective goals. The solutions to scale prosthetics and improve outcomes that are cost effective and sustainable, they're here and they are continuing to improve every day. Can you please imagine what it means to live in a world where we have a 90% first time fit rate consistently, a massive growth in productivity, that's cost effective, that we can scale all over the world, is easy to manage everywhere and continues to improve? Please, we can achieve this with digital. So in closing, I would like to remind you there are literally millions of fellow human beings like you or I, whose lives can be changed, can easily be changed, whose fundamental needs and human rights can be met and exceeded using the collective knowledge, the experience and the competencies that exist within this room today, and using tools and the solutions that digital technologies bring. So I must simply appeal to you, as always, please just be inquisitive, get engaged, take action, and in the words of Victor Hugo, there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Thank you.
Christopher, I want to thank you for a truly outstanding and inspirational lecture. You have demonstrated how difficulty can be turned into opportunity for the good of so many others. It is now my privilege and pleasure to award you the IC2A Inspirational Medal. You deserve it. Thank you very much.